Today marks 1631st day of daily lessons, day reflections. And today I want to speak about expansion. I was reflecting all day long about expansion, but I realized I want to speak today about expansion, but through black and white thinking. Black and white thinking means that you have one way or another, go or not go. Like it's just, and I think that at the beginning of my growth, I used to be very black and white thinker. But the more I grew, the more I realized that there is more gray and gray and gray. And I realized that in life, 90%, maybe 99% of things are gray. And barely a few things are really black and white. Like, for example, laws are gravity, of course. If you throw something from the window, it goes down. So it's a black and white thing. But majority of things in life is not black and white, especially in giving advice. When you think about, okay, I will give advice, and then for sure, if we'll do that, we'll lead somewhere. No, like we don't know that person's experience. We don't know so much context. This is a gray area, and it's very dangerous to stay in the black and white thinking for long term. And I think that could destroy so many things in our life and other people's lives if we actually keep it that thinking and with not turning into gray. And I think sometimes it's just if we actually want to use black and white, because there is areas in our lives that we must use black and white thinking, but we need to determine where those areas are. But today we'll focus on advantages and disadvantages of black and white thinking. So number one advantage is that it's very fast decisions. And I think that's why a lot of times people want to stay there because it's you don't need to think about it. It's one thing or another. And when someone asks for advice, now you don't need to reflect on their context, where they're coming from. You just give advice. And that's is very short term. And that means a lot of times that you're just not kind enough with your energy to give that energy to think, reflect, and hear them out, hear their story, and give advice. And because again, this is black and white thinking, doesn't allow to become a leader, because a gray leader, person who really cares about colors, will be able to really listen to the person before giving advice. Just a small example of that. And the fast decisions, of course, is very important for emergencies, for high pressure moments, but not on a day-to-day life when there's no emergency whatsoever. Number two is a clarity and simplicity. Sometimes it's great to have that this is acceptable, this is not acceptable, and this is great for setting boundaries, defining your standards. Okay, like this is what is great, this is what is bad. So when you know that if someone crossed that boundary, you know that it's not okay. Because if your boundaries are gray, people have no idea. If boundaries are vague, people will not know if they're crossing it or not. So when setting boundaries, we need to be black and white. If it's you cross that boundary, that means it's not okay. If you didn't cross, that's totally fine. So that there is black and white thinking areas, and setting boundaries is of course is that area where it's useful to have black and white, because you're able to cross it or not cross it. There's no other way. And I think that sometimes people want to make boundaries as more vague because it's useful for them to really cross those boundaries, because sometimes people for for any reasons uses other people. Number three is a strong initial discipline. And that means that you said that black and white, I don't skip workouts. And you don't skip workouts for, or I don't tolerate that behavior. And sometimes we can really say that, create structure for identity, but sometimes we need to understand that I don't skip workouts is short term, because we need to build identity around it rather than having those rules. Because when you have identity, you will not skip workouts. And if you skip workout, it will not damage your your workouts, because sometimes people exercise, and they not able to exercise for a week or so for different reasons, for external things, and they don't exercise, and they altogether stop exercising because they had rule rather than identity. Number four is reduces mental load. And again, this is less nuance, less thinking, and it's helpful when you are overwhelmed. And sometimes it's black and white thinking again. That it shows that when you look into a person who's actually has black and white thinking, and a lot of times we can ask again about when we discuss about nervous system stages. Then the first stage is a shutdown. Second stage is anxiety, have aroused. If the person is in a shutdown state or hyperarousal, they're not able to think clearly, they of course will go default to black and white thinking because it's less mental load. So rather than asking, say that, and labeling this person black and white thinker, maybe ask, okay, how are they doing in life? Because it might be that they just not doing very well, and if they put themselves in a better state, they might potentially move to gray area and think better. Number five is useful for beginners. And this is again, simplicity builds habits. So clear rules at the beginning, helpful to know exactly what needs to be done. But of course, as we know that when you build the rules and the structures at the beginning, it helps. But at some point, when you want to grow, those structures that you build at the beginning might be sabotaging from moving forward. But again, this is useful for beginners. Disadvantages where it breaks you of black and white thinking. This is emotional extremes that I'm doing great, I'm doing horrible. So that means that you're not able to really do in the middle. Are you succeeding or are you failing? Are you succeeding or are you failing? And that's just terrible because you might be that you every single day you are going for those extremes, for those terrible, great, terrible, great. And that's not great to be in that amplitude every single day moving. We need to really balance, have stability, and and that's black and white thinking brings those emotional waves, and that creates nervous system chaos, and that's not good. You quit too easily because we start to really have a black and white thinking. So oh, you ruin anyway, like or have ideas that is very black and white. So there's black. So oh, I failed, so I'm not good at this, and then I quit. I failed when you're a great person, when you're thinking great, you also I failed because I was not ready. I didn't practice enough. I didn't know something. I didn't ask for advice. There's you find the areas where you fell short rather than going to black and white thinking and say this is not for me. And that's of course a great person who's I will call great is not probably the best color, but still a colorful person, a person who is looking in the middle. That's probably called a person who looks in the middle. Number three, distorted reality. Because again, this is part of quitting because you ignore partial progress. So I said that this is what I'm trying to achieve. This is my outcome that I'm looking for. But if I didn't achieve that outcome, that means I failed. No, that means there's so much progress that you potentially achieved while pursuing that outcome. Now, when you will pursue that outcome, that next time you will achieve it potentially. But again, we'll miss the progress if you have black and white thinker. When you middle thinker, you start to look into what did they achieve by pursuing this outcome. And this is a massive lesson that you can really get out just out of it. Number four is kills long-term growth. Because when you have black and white thinking, we adjust, we label something one thing and label something other thing. But when we grow, when we improve, that label sometimes becomes our jail to label that other thing differently. Because what worked in one way, it doesn't work in the other way. So it means that a middle person looks for adjustments, iterations, imperfections, and that's where they get better. While black and white sometimes feels like it's wrong or is right, it's wrong or is right, and if it's wrong, they kick out of their life. But what is wrong might be there's a lot of great things in there that we're able to adjust, iterate, and make it better. Number five, damages relationships. Again, this is good or bad. And I think that's it's very, very damaging when you see a person a certain way and you put emphasis on them. And this person is great, and sometimes it's extremely damaging when you have a conversation with a person, you know that they see you a certain way. They have that black and white thinking. But you see, when you have a middle, you are much more curious who you truly are, and you're asking questions because you can feel that that person is trying to figure you out. While a black and white person, they already know who you are. They labeled you, and that's it. And that's of course is very damaging for relationships. Number six is hyper aroused. And that means that keeps you in a stage two nervous system because you constantly are very rigid. It's and then because what we need in life is the nuances. While black and white is very rigid. And that's what creates a lot of anxiety in our lives. And we need to understand that in life, everything is nuanced. Almost everything. Again, it's not able to say everything. 90%, 99% of things are nuanced. And when when we are not looking for nuances, our nervous system is activated and looking for perfection. And if it's not achieving that perfection, that means it creates anxiety. And when you're looking to not perfection, but looking for excellence by pursuing that middle, that is much better. And last one, number seven, that from the disadvantages is that blocks mastery. And that means that again, this is partly of that rigidity or rigid thinking. When you're looking to things that is everything is that or another. But when you are in the middle and you're looking for all the things, and you're looking for those all the, as I mentioned, nuances, those nuances that really makes a mastery. Most people are able to understand all the majority foundation things, but when you look into around things, nuances that you could become expert, that's where you need to be that middle person who really looks for it. At the beginning, it's helpful to be black and white because you understand the foundation, but when you understand foundation, when you move finally to expert, now you want to become a middle to really take advantage of it. So the black and white thinking could be used as a tool, but it's very dangerous as default because there's certain areas, as I said, as boundaries, it's great to have as a non-negotiables. Black and white could be great. This is what I do, but at some point we need to understand that we need to learn nuances life because there's so much nuances life. And again, this going back to the nervous system stages because if you're not in stability and emotional peace, it's very hard to really think nuances in life. So if you're not able to think nuances, ask sometimes how my emotion is doing right now. Because if I'm emotional, well, maybe I will be able to allocate my time to really to reflect, to think, and you'll find those specific things about certain situations rather than labeling one way or another. Because this is, as I said, is a massive shortcut. So how is reflected? It's a beautiful topic because as I said, I have seen a lot of people black and white fingers. I have seen myself thinking this way, and it's not helpful. That's what I could tell because I've been one way or another, and I found that being a middle finger is much better. So I hope you just win and see you tomorrow.